here. I've got to pull this thing up.
Good afternoon, ARB. We are live and recording.
Am I on? Well, I've made my chair really tiny. There we go. Okay, excuse me. I have a little technical glitch here in the chair department. Good afternoon and welcome to the Architectural Review Board of the Town of East Hampton. Our meeting of December 8th is about to begin. My name is Kathleen Cunningham. I'm the chairperson of this agency. And I'd like to begin our meeting tonight, this evening, by reading a little bit of the Agricultural Overlay District and what our particular charge is in controlling that as we review ag overlay applications. The purpose of the Agricultural Overlay District is to reasonably control and, to the extent possible, prevent the unnecessary loss of those currently open lands within the town containing large and contiguous areas of prime agricultural soils. The economic, social, and aesthetic benefits which can be obtained for all citizens by limiting loss of such areas are well documented and have inspired a host of governmental programs designed with varying degrees of success to achieve this result. For its part, the town is expending large sums of money to protect existing farm acreage. At the same time, the town has an obligation to exercise its authority to reasonably regulate the subdivision and development of this land to further the same purposes while honoring the legitimate interests of farmers and other farmland owners. And so that's just a quick overview. That's a tough area of governance for us because most of the ag overlay land we see is not used for farming. So I just want to help to clarify our perspective on that as we begin our meeting this evening. Okay, I want to extend a hearty get well to our secretary, Julie Akala, who's been under the weather, not with us tonight. We have with us Eric Shantz, the assistant planning director, who has very kindly offered to sit in and cover Julie's responsibilities for us, which are myriad. So as our first order of business, I'd like to, can someone please make a motion to approve the minutes of November 17th, 2022?
So move.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and so that's passed and carried. Do I have the wrong agenda? Are we supposed to be? Oh, okay, I do have the right agenda. Somehow I thought we were going to be talking about that easement tonight, but I guess that's not till next week. Okay. All right. Because I've been chiding everyone to go look at the property. Sorry about that. Anyway, okay, the first application is Springs Library, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-80-1-4. Is Mr. Stafford or hi, Miss? Yes, you approach the podium, and this is Esperanza Leon, so she'll make her comments, and then we'll ask you for any additional input you'd like to give us. Thank you. Okay, moving on.
Okay. This is an application made by the Springs Library, the Springs Historical Society, for a building that is at 1 Parsons Place and is owned by the town of East Hampton. It's a historic landmark. And the application is for a freestanding sign at 2 feet by 4 feet and at a height of 5 feet, located facing Parsons Place. This is the proposed design that will include the Springs Historical Society and Community Library information, and also the fact that this is a property that's listed on the National Register of Historic Places. And so I just wondered, and Will, if you would pull up the pictures that I sent in. Your plan is to remove the existing sign that's on the corner of Springs Fireplace?
It's been there for decades.
Yes.
We're going to leave it. It's it probably could use a new paint job someday, but the wood is still good. It's still in good shape. The support structure is okay. We're going to leave it in place just as it is.
I did not measure that sign.
Oh,
I mean, it's a small sign, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's about 30 by 40 inches.
Could we look again at the, oh, there's another picture actually of where they're proposing, I think, and that, because we'll look at the survey.
It faces Ashwell Hall,
Correct. Yes. I'm sorry. I took this picture as a reference. Okay.
just to the left of the walkway by the fence, just in front of the fence.
On the left side.
No, to the front door, not the driveway, the front door.
Right. But to the left side of that brick
Of the
walkway.
building.
Yeah.
Yes. Behind the fence.
Behind the fence.
In front of the fence,
In
between the
front of the
fence and the
fence.
property line. So it will be within 4 feet of the property line. The property line is forward of the fence.
Is that the right of way?
We'll look at the survey.
Yeah.
Now that I'm really looking at this, it's really going to block the sort of the view of the facade, though.
Kind of.
Yeah,
I mean,
I have to zoom way in for that.
It's too high.
it is high. Yeah.
5 feet?
and why do they put it on the fence?
Yeah.
Green dash right there.
So
Could you point that out
It's-
again,
It's within the
please?
property line. Yeah. I thought
Oh,
it
okay.
was. Mhm.
Thank you. Is there any reason why you wouldn't just put it on the fence instead of,
No, I hadn't thought of that.
yeah, I mean, because I think as Brown's is saying, when it's raised up off the ground like that, it'll obstruct the view of the facade of the building, which is the, historic structure.
Look at the front elevation of the building again.
Yes, please. Okay.
here we go.
So yes, from this perspective, you would maybe interrupt the lower half of both of those windows. It's only going to be this high.
Right.
So-
But
so
right now, there's nothing obstructing that view. I mean, the fence does a little bit, but if you were to put it on the fence and if you have no objection to putting it on the fence,
Suspending it from the fence? in
yeah,
front
why
of
don't you
the
just
fence?
nail
No,
it onto the fence? I mean, if it's your idea to, I mean, I love this building. I love that area. I understand that you would want to somehow include the recognition of the building on the National Register, which makes good sense. But I think it's really a small building. That area is, the scale of everything in there is quite small, and it feels a little excessive to me to have two signs. But I don't object to, why you want to hang the second sign, but I would just I would make it as unobtrusive as possible, even though you do want people to see, those two designations.
Quite small and
Yeah, but it's
Running
very
by the-
visible, I'll tell you. I
It's
mean,
also appropriate, it's a small building, so.
it
Sure, it's
doesn't
some
identify
double-sided.
the Historical
Say again?
Society.
It's
either.
a single
Closed
side.
sign, double-sided.
It's a single-sided sign because it's only facing,
The new sign.
yes.
The sign, I think, is single-sided.
You can be
Yeah.
put on the fence.
Yeah. I mean, I would even go as far as suggesting if you were going to make it freestanding, why not put it to the left of that new walkway that goes to the ADA?
Okay.
I'm only just because I really think it's obstructing the whole
I agree.
facade,
Yeah.
which
So-
is very
Where's
special.
the new walkway?
It's
The
that
left
business
brick
to the left.
where the
there,
truck, the white
yeah.
truck is,
Yeah,
and
all of
is
that.
the ADA
That's
ramp.
when that
That's
we
new.
just approved that ADA ramp a
Mhm.
couple months
To the
ago.
left of that?
Yeah.
Over.
Yeah, she means on the grassy part.
Yeah, because
To the
then
left of
that is where you usually have your book sale, and then to the left of that is the Parsons blacksmith shop.
So will that fence that's extending, so there's the fence running parallel to the street, and there's the extension of the front of the fence we see in the main walkway.
Right.
Is that to remain?
I'm sorry, right here?
Yeah, is that going to remain?
Yes.
Okay. And do we know what the height of that is approximately?
The fence itself?
Maybe 4
Yeah.
feet. no?
Yeah, about 4 feet.
Okay. And will there be an extension of the fence similar to that for the new walkway?
I saw it, there's nothing on the survey. So I expect not.
There's nothing
There's
proposed.
nothing on the ADA. There's no fence.
It seems unusual there
assist
wouldn't be a
for the-
rail.
for the ADA.
The rail
but
is
you-
on the ADA ramp.
Oh,
it's
on the
there.
ramp. It's not on
Yeah.
What is the
walkway.
ADA?
No,
To the left.
it's in the rear there. Yeah,
There, you see
exactly.
that
And
little
it is
bit?
there. It's
Yeah.
all installed already. They just haven't done the work for the door yet, I don't think, right? For the access in the back.
So have you centered it on the fence on the left between the two walkways?
I'm thinking to move it
It's
all the way to the left
suggesting-
of the brick walkway, which leads to the ADA
like outside of what we can see on the picture, the photo, right?
Because truthfully, I mean, the reason for this is, can you tell me?
Oh,
For
well,
us?
yeah, especially in the summer.
Yes.
With a lot of tourists coming into the farmer's market. You
Right.
can't see the sign way down at the
Yeah.
corner.
Right. So
And we're
that's
open during
why,
that time, so it's a
and
good
most people
opportunity.
will park right
Correct.
there where Ashwa is. That's where the farmer's market is. To me, it makes much more sense than to put it to the left.
Okay, because yeah, hanging it on the fence there's always cars parked in here too.
And that will block it. Yeah.
So
And I'm sorry, I don't have a picture of.
That's a great
farther away.
suggestion. I think that's a good suggestion.
Freestanding to the left.
Yeah.
I think it would-
just-
Left of the driveway or the driveway.
Well,
Which is
there's
what that-
another photograph of the view. Well, could you pull up the view of, that's the Presbyterian church and it has its sign right there, but it's a little different, the situation. But so, okay, so here you have the little sign, which is fairly visible. And I'm sorry, I don't have the, the rest of it I meant to do. I don't think I have another one, but can you check?
Those are the only two we have on.
Okay, all right.
So cars park on the lawn up to the sign, up to the fence.
They do, yeah.
Park everywhere.
They park everywhere. And so it makes sense to have it higher. Yes.
But
So
not
what
off
if
the
it
building.
was to the right of the main entrance? That's one eye. Go back to the photograph of the
Of the front facade,
there, of the front. Go back to the photo of
that one,
yeah,
where there's a tree there.
there's a tree in back. So the tree's in back of the fence, but I'm wondering
Right.
if so
That
another
could be.
option is you put the fence. So on the left side you've got a rail, and then the right you have a sign.
A sign. Yeah. That's another option. Sorry, this is,
How big
Okay,
is the
so
sign?
it wouldn't block the view. I mean,
David's head is, right?
yeah, I think that Dave's- it's a landmark here in East Hampton.
My head.
So, my sense is that the goal for this, which is to keep people off your property, you'd be better off with Esperanza's initial suggestion, but I don't
To
have a
keep people
preference.
off the property. You want people to know that this is there.
We want them to realize that the facility is
Right.
there.
Oh, okay. I see. I thought you were trying to keep the parking off
Oh,
there.
no, that's,
so,
that
yeah.
there's no control.
Okay.
there.
Yeah. All right. Well, then I guess either way it works. It's, although I think you would see it more if it was to the left,
think so,
if you're making
too.
that turn, putting it to the right of the building, it's in close proximity to the sign that's already there.
Right.
I think this way you'd be posting both ends of your property kind of,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
It sort of serves in that way.
All right, the driveway has a handicap parking, a new handicap parking area to the left.
Of the brick walkway.
Left of that where the current town trash can is, probably.
It's almost too far.
Can you pull up that survey, please, Will?
It looks far, but it really isn't.
Uh,
Yeah. I mean,
I live right here and there.
yeah,
No.
it's very sort of intimate.
There we go.
It always
Yeah.
seems like it's better to be on site and just say, yeah.
Enlarge it a little more.
Is it possible to zoom in a little bit more? And the blacksmith shop is also, I mean, is it also a historical society?
We're contributing
Administered
to the
building.
events there, yes.
Yes. So yeah, so I was proposing just to the right as we
As
look
we're
at it.
looking at it
from
of
that driveway.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's it,
around
yeah.
there. Yeah.
In back of the fence or in front of the fence?
There is a fence, so it looks like they are planning on a fence. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I was wondering, is there a fence there?
Not,
There's
The
nothing?
survey shows, the survey shows a fence though,
Yeah, if it shows the fence, it's there. I'm fairly certain it is there.
It's
unless
just the break
this
that I'm
survey
thinking,
is
the break in the
old.
fence with the
No, I
new-
think there is a fence there because that's why cars park up to that fence.
There's so many trees in front of it, I don't remember. Let's see, I have pictures.
Okay.
Well, I would say if it's on the survey, there's a fence
Okay.
there.
All right, so where the fence is shown ending there,
Since it's a wood fence.
to prior to reaching the driveway is what you're recommending. It would be a freestanding.
The what you're proposing 2x4,
Okay.
right? I mean,
Yeah, I think
that's-
so.
Seems to
I
me
mean,
like
I
a,
have no problem with that. How do you good with
May I
that?
bring to the board of directors the possibility of attaching it to the fence, where we had originally proposed
Sure.
at 4 foot high? So
Yeah. Yeah, I think,
below the top of the fence directly attached to the fence.
yeah, I think attaching it to the fence, the thing we're trying to do is make sure that it doesn't obscure the vista of the building, which is the historic property, right?
Okay.
The fence is part of that land. The sign, we don't want it to override that vista, especially the front facade. So,
I offer them both options.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm okay with that. Are you okay with that? You
and
good
then,
with that?
and then you come back to,
Yeah, see what
with
they
your
want.
decision?
Right.
So
Okay.
what's, in the font, not to get.
Yeah, and I also
So
think
the
that the
Yeah, we
font,
should look
so
at the
does the
sign,
font
yeah.
match the other sign?
It as close as I could find using the current fonts offered in Microsoft Word. The Springs font is hand lettered, and it doesn't relate to anything. It's very old. Doesn't relate to anything that I can think of. That's one of the reasons we want to leave it there. It's quite unique.
Was this going to match that
It won't
somewhat?
match that, but that is the only word on that sign that is in that particular font, Springs.
Could we look at it? Will, are you able to find that rendering again, please,
For the rendering.
of the sign?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then maybe look at the original
we're
sign,
looking
the
at
corner
the-
sign, if we
that-
can zoom in
yeah.
on that too.
Whoa.
So a picture of the existing sign, like, does it match the other one?
No.
I didn't get a close-up of it.
Can we try
It
that?
doesn't
The
match the
corner
other one.
sign again?
There we are. Can we zoom
Can
in?
you zoom in on
A
that?
little bit. It's gonna get.
It's going to get blurry,
Yeah.
but,
Leave the shape of it.
oh, there we are.
Oh, okay.
Just kind of graphically. I'm not,
Yeah, no,
I
Springs
like
matches.
the spring sign. I'm not know about this one.
This one?
No, and the one that
Oh, the new
before,
one.
I kind of,
There's a few.
I feel like the sign itself could use some work.
yeah, I agree.
Needs to be touched up. The
No,
lettering,
no, touched
the
up. I mean,
proposed one.
the proposed
saying-
sign is just sort of like,
The calligraphy of the sign you're proposing is quite different than this one, and we're trying to look for some uniformity there.
if
Or
I
just-
can, so Hampton Signs is probably who we're going to go to for
Mhm.
this. If I can get them to recognize the current font that's on there and match that for all of the verbiage.
That'd be
I
great.
don't know which one we would, because I see.
Yeah, there's a
has-
couple.
There's
Yeah,
one, there's another, there's
Types,
another.
yeah.
right.
This one seems a little bit more modern. We could repaint this sign with another font.
don't change
it.
No, I mean, with
That should be marked.
the spring portion of it.
no, don't touch, just
Just clean it
maintain
up.
it.
I
Don't
would, yeah,
change
just clean it up.
Just graphically,
Gently.
if you're hiring a graphic designer to do this, can you come back with the graphic design,
Right, if you're going to
'Cause I
come
feel
back
like
with the
this isn't-
position.
the final product?
It's my word.
Oh, we need,
Right,
okay,
okay.
we need the final product.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Springs, I'm sorry, Southampton signs, Hampton signs.
Hampton sign, yeah.
Hampton sign.
Wanted the approval, at least as far along as maybe we're getting today, before they actually did any work.
Yeah.
So, but I imagine they would do that.
Okay, well, we're not really approving anything today. We're giving you feedback, and I think the feedback that you're getting is if you could put it on the fence in the original location, that would be okay with the board, or do a freestanding sign to the left of the new driveway, and the handicapped access there is also discussed. And then if you can come back with the font design that's more similar, more akin to what is there.
Okay.
And they're artists, they'll figure it out, that they'll be able to make that work, and they'll understand that.
Yeah.
They'll understand that we're looking for some congruency here.
Complementary too.
Right.
Okay. May we go back to the new sign?
Mhm.
And just so I understand what I'll be asking of them.
Can you go to
there we
the
go.
proposal? There we are.
Takes
There
a
we
minute
go.
to load.
Okay. So this seal is
Yes,
is already been
Self-contained.
designed.
Yep.
And that.
And so
that's
is the National
appropriate.
Register. Yep, we get that.
So we're talking about identical font all the way through, but different sizes, matching the library font from the other side.
I don't think we want to get into the design of what we want to, I don't want to start designing a sign, but
You want them to complement each other, though.
Yeah, they should- they
I
should
think
complement each
should
other.
know. They'll know how to come to
It's a,
us.
it's a very busy sign. I mean, you have in the Ambrose Parsons house, home of Elizabeth. I mean, there's just a lot going on this sign.
Is that in the same sort of,
I don't think anyone's ever going to
Springs-
see that.
well, they will at 2x4 probably, but is that in a, like a Times Roman or is that, I can't see, I'm sorry.
Wonder if I can open the Word document here. I
Well-
don't think I can. But anyway,
Anyway, I
I'm
just
less
think-
concerned about the actual font as long as it matches better the existing sign.
Yeah.
We want,
That's
this
what
is
I'm
an
getting at,
historic
is that
building, yes.
Maybe it would be using
But,
that.
but
other-
I'm wondering also, I mean, I know the Springs Historical Society is taking care of this. Is that the prominent, is that the first, you want that to be the first thing that people read? Is that the Springs Historical Society and Community Library?
they're the sole operators of what.
If
goes
I
on
was
there.
if I was a newcomer to town, I'd think that was the Springs Historical Society and not the library. Just,
The corner sign just says Springs Library.
right.
And the,
We understand my point.
that's the full name of the,
Good point.
of the entire building and everything. I mean, that's how all the letterhead is and that's how the website is.
Right. I'm just.
This
I-
is
I'm
Springs
just- I'm just
Historical-
asking if that is what you want the sign to communicate.
Oh,
It's
this
just
is
something
already
to
been-
take into consideration that the person that's not familiar with the community is going to think it's the Springs Historical Society and probably not that it's a library.
Okay, I can bring that up to them
Yeah.
as well.
And that's just some feedback.
I think library would stand out more if you got rid of the word and put an ampersand between Springs Historical Society and Community Library. They would both sort of resonate with you. Right now, Community Library is kind of lost.
Well, that's what I'm just getting at.
Yeah. So you understand, like a little
Yeah.
ampersand.
Ampersand in between the two
Yeah,
lines.
and then just in community, then center Community Library, and it'll stand out a lot better than it does now.
Okay.
But we don't want to design your sign.
Yeah.
so-
Yeah.
I'll make
No,
those
we
suggestions.
don't.
We don't
but-
want to design it. Well,
But one
yeah.
last little thing, and that's why I took a picture of the Presbyterian church one, is that it has a very fine sort of little line around it. And this just seems so severe to me
Mhm.
that maybe
Yeah.
there's a way, like a little border. I mean, that one's just charming because of the,
I'm sure when Hampton sign gets it, they're going to
That,
come
yeah.
back. Yeah, they'll come back with a sign that's designed by a professional. It seems to me. And I think it might be good to come with a couple different samples. Okay.
So, yeah, that was partially my fault, thinking that it's just the conceptual idea is what I needed to bring before you, but we can do a final.
Yeah, no, the final is what we were meant to approve, especially in an historic district. You know, if it was the commercial district, there's a little more flexibility because things change all the time there. But in the historic district, we're trying to keep things the same.
Okay.
So we're looking for a certain continuity. Okay.
Hampton Signs is recommending PVC.
Sure.
Okay.
Last a
PVC
life-
PVC,
It's a-
what, the material of
material.
the sign?
Yeah. It'll last a lifetime.
Not wood.
It can be cleaned more easily, I guess. I don't know. Is that a thing?
You can't tell the difference.
I mean, even in a historic district, is that an acceptable material?
Is that what the town signs are made from?
Does anyone know
Let's
the
double
answer to
check
these
that,
questions?
Well, it's going to come back to us, so maybe we should
Yeah.
look into
Well,
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll make a note.
Well, I'll
Yeah,
indicate
maybe
the
we can
material
find
on
out. I mean, it may be because it's in it's a historic landmark that it should be a wooden sign because of that. Even though PVC is a practical and forward-thinking material, it may be that in this instance, we need to push it into the historic category, but I don't know that information
I'll
now.
indicate the material on the next submittal. then.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, Matt.
So much.
Okay. All right, next up, change to commercial, Nassau Council of Girl Scouts Incorporated, Suffolk County Tax Net number 300-37-2-1. Matt, we need a Zoom connection here for the
Yeah.
applicant. Is the applicant present via Zoom? We have to make that happen somehow.
Lucia is joining.
Lucia. Okay, Lucia, are you here? Not yet, it would
Be safe
appear.
for the sake of the town. He is.
Okay.
See her link is on the Zoom. She's connecting right now.
Do we have her?
Yes.
Please join. Need some service.
Okay. All right. Well, this is mine. I'm just going to go ahead. This is for a cell tower, a wireless facility over at Camp Blue Bay on Flaggy Hill Road. Can you pull up some of the pictures we discussed today at the pre-meeting, please? Well, the applicant is proposing to put a new pole in place. This is something that's been of, I'm sure anybody that's been paying any attention recognizes this pole and what's been happening here. The existing, is that what are we looking at there?
That's the existing compound. In the middle of the picture, that is the brown 60-foot tall pole that's currently there that only has two lines.
Right.
Mm.
Okay.
You see a little bit.
Right.
This would be, well, sort of looking to the facility at 90 degrees. There's a road that comes in off 3 Mile Harbor Road and then takes a left turn. This is looking down that left turn.
Okay. Yeah. I couldn't get to the site because it was gated and locked. So I wasn't able to, I tried to get there yesterday, but I couldn't get in. So we're using the photographs that were submitted by the applicant as part of the application. But this proposal is to replace this 60-foot pole with a new facility.
Another 60-foot pole?
No, it's going to 90,
85?
This is like a tower. This is
a
big.
tower. Yeah. No, it's going to be big. It's going to be big. This is the,
like a 13-story building.
this is, yes. Can you find those pictures of the simulations of the,
But yeah, this is the one where like all of their files are in the same document. So
oh, okay.
Yeah, you show me like the scroll down a couple of pages.
Yeah.
Time to load those.
Yeah, it's being a little slow.
Okay. Anyway, it's a big tower. It won't be seen easily from the road. It'll likely be seen from some of the waterways. Yes, you can't really, it's hard to tell with these pictures, these simulations. It's a huge tower. But we are not here to approve the tower's size or for location. Yeah, just the color of the whether it matches our the equipment building matches our criteria. So
What was the color of the Stephen Hand's Path Tower we just approved?
I think we've approved like a light gray.
Find you what, you know.
I think it's the same color. It's gray, right?
I think it's a gray, right?
I mean, essentially, it's a bluish gray.
Yeah.
yeah, it's something that fades into the
The sky.
sky and also to the the woodland, the trees and so forth. Is this all we have, Will, as a photograph?
Is that a paint swatch?
Yeah, I think there's something in this visual.
Thank you.
If you go there, soon you'll find a bunch of visualizations that were prepared by the applicants.
Yeah.
They brought a crane to the site, which actually you can scroll up one there, Will. So you see this is a collection of about 30, I believe, simulations from various locations in Springs.
Right.
You'll see this picture is obviously the crane that they brought into the site to prepare those visualizations. And then if you just kind of scroll down slowly through them, this picture is taken from the Girl Scout camp itself. That is the rendering of what the tower would look like with equipment for all 4 major carriers as well as the counter services. And I guess if you just kind of scroll down slowly through the visualizations,
Will, can you scroll down slowly? I don't know what else is going on over there.
So this is, yeah, that's, okay. I know where these from.
Maidstone Park.
Yep.
So it's actually only partially visible from most of the surrounding areas. The most visible, or it would be the most visible from immediately in front of it, where that access road comes in off of 3 Mile Harbor Road. If you get to that, that's I believe visualization number 9 or 10, something down there. Most of these you won't be able to see it from various locations, or you'll see it over the
Can you go a
treetops.
little more slowly, please?
Yeah. And do we have
Yeah,
one
that
from,
red.
I can imagine.
But it's very different to see this little stick with a red flag
Right,
versus
than
Yeah.
the thing with
pole
the
with
antenna on it.
antenna on it.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, there's no,
But it's much
it's
needed.
not a monopole like we've.
it's not a monopole and it, yeah.
And actually, if you go to the very beginning of that document, there's a key that shows you all the locations that they did the
Right, they took
visualizations
the
from. So if you wanna
pictures
pick
from.
one out in particular, they're all coded by number.
Right.
I mean, it seems to me it's most visible. It's going to be most visible from something like Sammy's Beach,
Yep.
That's what I-
That's right.
Northwest Harbor, looking across 3
That's right.
Mile Harbor,
Mhm.
That's right.
and anyone who's out in Gardiner's Bay, it's going to be an eyesore.
Correct.
Yeah.
Anywhere in Springs, it's going to be obscured by the trees, even in the wintertime.
Mhm.
But it is going to be very visible.
Yeah.
I mean, I did a search to see if architecturally you can do anything with these things, and it's unfortunately, at least in this country, it just seems we have very little, unless we want to try to push for putting like fake tree, like a fake tree top, which I think would actually make it worse.
Yeah.
I think our best hope is probably at some point that when cell technology improves, that they come up with something that's a little more discreet. It doesn't hang off of the tower like it does now. I mean, it's essentially like something you might see in Berlin from the Cold War.
Yeah, it has a sort of post-communist era look to it. Yeah, take your point. I mean, one of the problems that we've all had, and when I was on the planning board, we had the same issue. Federal law preempts most of what we can do, and that's really a problem.
Yeah.
So I think at this point and the message is loud and clear that people want cell service in this community. So until, as you're saying, the technology improves in such a way that we don't have to, I mean, we're looking, there's an
Yes,
awful looking tower right here too. And
Beautiful one. It'll
Yeah.
look like that.
right, no, it definitely will look like that. But I don't know that, apart from what they recommended, whether we would have any other,
We're just approving the color.
pretty much,
Right.
yeah.
So let's just approve the color.
That's what I'm suggesting. Yeah. I just wanted everybody to have a chance to sort of work through the discomfort of how bad that looks.
These poor
From the-
people,
from the-
poor people in Springs have suffered for years.
No, I understand.
Tell me about it.
I understand. I just saying it's an eyesore and we acknowledge that. And we also, well, I'll let her talk when I'm done because this is my application. But did you have anything you wanted to say, Lucia?
Thank you, Chairwoman. For the record, Lucia Kyoki with Cutting Fader on behalf of the applicant. The only thing I wanted to add was that in addition to providing wireless service from AT&T, Verizon, Dish, and T-Mobile, the town will actually locate emergency services from the tower. And they're located at the top of the tower. They're really driving the height of this tower. So it's important for emergency services as well. And with respect to color, it sounds like you're going toward like a gray color. And we found throughout the years that that's actually the best color to blend in with the skyline. Some communities ask about blue, and unfortunately the sky isn't blue all that often, even on a nice sunny day. So that we find is the best way to have it blend in as much as something like this can blend in.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you for that input. I would like to, unless anybody else has any other comment, I'd like to make a motion to accept this proposal as submitted.
I just wanted to ask them, did
Yeah.
they submit that color? Was that a little paint chip that I saw on the?
Yes, yes,
presentation?
yeah.
Okay, I just was.
Yeah.
So that's the color.
I second Kathy's
All in
Motion.
favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank
Thank you
you.
very much. Thank you for your time and
Happy
accommodating.
holidays. You too. Thanks very much.
Appreciate it.
Okay,
Is that the
we're
final
on
approval?
to National Grid East Hampton Tanks and Equipment Building, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-185-2-2. This is also mine, and Jean, is your name Jean?
Yes.
Yeah, right. Thanks. I just wanted to make sure I had your right name. Okay, so I have some photos from this. If you could pull those up, Will, that would be helpful. National Grid has as most of us know, has a facility over on Cove Hollow Road. They are proposing a tank and equipment building to let me just, excuse me, find my note here. I don't see my note. There's a new process for them to remove nitrous oxide, which is a pollutant that's a byproduct of the energy that's produced at that, I can't find my notes, at that plant. So they're proposing a 500 square foot building by these tanks. Jean, would you mind coming forward? Because I went to the site yesterday, not the best day for it. It was raining and muddy, but my understanding is that the building is supposed to be to the west of this one tank. Is that correct? That taller cylindrical
You should have
tank?
the survey, right? So we can
Yeah,
pull
yeah.
that up.
Is the
too.
survey in there? Will, can you just pull
Yeah,
the
yeah.
survey up so we can review it? It's a huge site. It's full of all these mechanical things. It's extremely disturbed. It backs up to the railroad track.
Well, it's where the Beach Lane wind farm electricity is coming into this.
Into that substation.
So it's a massive construction site.
Yes, no, it is indeed.
So
But
it's kind
I
of-
can't tell if it's behind that berm and that fence or if it's on
Yes,
that.
behind there. It would be
Okay.
behind there.
Yeah, I couldn't
So
tell when I was
basically,
there.
we've been working for probably about 6 months with the planning board on this.
Right?
The reason they're doing this is because there's going to be new regulations, new state regulations that come into effect, I think, May 23rd. So they really have no option but to put in this system. So it's two 20,000 gallon tanks, a small equipment building, and then there's a tractor trailer that brings in the demineralizer. It's a demineralizer trailer.
Mhm.
That will be there seasonally. So somewhere maybe from May to September, they take the driving part away and they leave the trailer there. So the water goes in and it kind of cools things off in there. It goes through the demineralizer trailer, drops off the particles there. So nothing's going into the ground. I mean, it's quite a system that they've got going. They do it at other locations, but it does necessitate putting up these two tanks because the water is what's cooling the system and then running through the demineralizer trailers. And in the little equipment building, that is where the controls for the system basically are.
Okay.
So yeah, we've been going through this since I think June with the planning board, and at the
Right.
meeting last night, after much thoughtful consideration and a lot of changes, they approved it last night.
So what changes? I mean, nothing, does nothing change
They
our
wanted more
perspective? I
detail on
mean,
dry wells and nothing really changed in terms of the size of the tanks, the size of the equipment building. They wanted a lot more detail on exactly how the process works is really what.
so
they
you
wanted.
don't really have your approval from the planning board
We got
yet?
it last night. Planning board
Yeah,
approval,
approved last night.
planning board approval was last night.
All right, because I don't like to preempt another agency, you
No,
know?
we got full approval last night.
So what are we approving?
But we were asked by the planning board probably a month and a half, 2 months ago to get our ARB application going.
Right.
There were just a couple of little things. Nothing changed in terms of what was originally proposed. We just needed to work through a lot of details and a lot of explanation as to how the process works,
Right.
where the minerals are going.
Yeah, no, I
through the
understand, because
demineralizer trailer.
they would be concerned with the discharge. So it's an installation of two 20,000 gallon water tanks and erect a 12 by 15 foot equipment building and utilize a seasonal demineralizer truck. So do you have, excuse me, elevations that we can share with the board on what the building is supposed to look like? I have a picture of the truck.
Do you have the packet
And
on
then she said
there?
that this goes away and the trailer
The
stays.
trailer stays, yeah.
And that's
Very,
the treat, that's the actual treatment.
It would appear that
Facility.
all action is in the truck. Is that right?
Yes.
Pretty much, except for the
truck
water.
is the demineralizer. So they bring that in and everything goes through there. By the time the
That's true,
water comes
water,
out
what
of there,
expensive.
the minerals have been taken out. And then if it has to happen more than once a season, they take the tractor trailer comes, hooks up, takes the trailer part away and brings a new demineralizer trailer there to start filling up
Right.
again. So no water that ever comes out.
Yeah, no, that's important. We don't want that going. We
No,
have
that was a lot of-
groundwater issues here.
Why we had a lot of
Can you
discussion.
please show some of the elevations of the plans, Will, so that we can get the board's approval on this? Airtight building. That sounds a little scary. I'll tell you, it was something, I felt like if I had some kind of a gauge on me,
These
I
are
would
the
have been
two tanks?
electrified. Yes, those are the two tanks. And there's the building.
And the equipment building is right between. them.
Right.
Okay.
Building's not very big. And I'm not seeing elevations here. I thought I saw
I
elevations.
sent in something about the color. It's going to be a
Yeah, it tells us what the color is, but just, I'm not
Laurel
seeing an
green,
elevation to see
and
what
it's
the,
going to look very much like, which you should have one of these two. You have this one? Much like this.
yeah, this doesn't seem to have, just seems to be like.
So that's
engineering
what the
specs.
tanks look
These
like?
are at other sites.
Yeah.
Yes, but that's what the tank's going to
Okay.
look like.
What's the building gonna look like? I can't find the,
It looks like this. These are the plans for the building.
yeah, those seem like engineering specs. I don't see any elevations there. I just looked through those again.
Oh, I got this. This is it's mine.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, okay. That's it.
So looks like the picture that.
Right.
That's the
Solar
tank.
Well, that's the tank. I was looking
Not-
for the
not the
building.
building.
I
That
was
was the
trying,
tank.
the
Oh.
building. There's a building.
Yeah,
There's
there's
tanks
another-
and
There
a
was
building.
another.
I don't have
think you
anything
had
in the
another
file.
picture,
for the
no?
building.
Yeah, I
This
don't
is a
have anything.
building that's being built. Yeah, I should have had that. but
Yeah,
if you
I
don't,
thought I
This is
saw
a
that.
building that's being currently built for them on another site. This is the
Right.
green, this is the white trim, and this is roughly what it's going to look like.
And
Just the size might be different. Our size is.
Right. I understand that. I'm just saying that
There was no picture.
ordinarily that's the point I'm trying to make. Ordinarily, when we review an application for a building, we would have elevations for the building, and we don't have that. So I know what the color is going to be. You're showing me that, and the application says it's laurel green, but there are no elevations for the building as part of this
Yeah,
application.
nothing in here that.
Those are
shows
engineering
the
specs.
elevations.
No, there's no elevations in that. So,
so it's 12 by 15 and how tall?
I don't
Is
know.
that's the point of the elevation? Do you know
I
how
know.
tall? Because
That
if it's
would
just a
be
green box.
26, fiberglass tank, 26 equipment building to be green.
Let me see, that would be in the,
Yeah,
that would be in the plans. I know they had shown us in the plans where that was.
okay.
The
just-
equipment building,
Mission.
12 by 15, and it's 10 feet, 3 inches high.
Okay.
Okay, well, I don't know what our general protocol here, I don't see why we would be approving something we don't have a drawing for as a general rule. It feels like our file is incomplete. I don't mean to be a stickler, but why would we approve a building that we have no elevations for? David, am I off base here? I mean, I get this, I get what the basic concept is here, and I can't imagine I would have any objections to it. it's a utility
What's your
building, but if we don't have the elevations, it seems like it's not a really good idea to
Actually
approve
is-
as an application that doesn't include elevations.
So let's ask for elevations.
We'll get us some elevations,
I'll
please.
go back to Parkline,
Tanks, so-
back to Parkline.
We can
did
approve the tanks and not the building.
No,
I mean, you know.
I mean, if that was submitted, then clearly the other part of it should as well.
Right, yeah. What do you think?
I think that you're not off base. The board should
Okay.
have elevations if
All right, I don't
All
mean
right, so
to
we'll go
give you a
back to
bad
Parkline
time.
and ask them for an elevation of.
Yeah, we just need elevations to the building. It's a small building. It's not a big deal. I can't believe it's not in here. I mean, there's everything with the kitchen sink in here.
Yeah, it's.
Except
pretty
the
extensive.
building elevations, and that's kind of the only thing we can approve, so I don't want to approve your application without elevations of the building and have the next guy come in and say, you did that National Grid thing and I didn't have any elevations, so I think we're going to have to ask you to come back with elevations for the building.
Okay,
I mean, we could approve the tanks, we can't approve the building. I don't say, I can't in good conscience approve the building without the elevations,
so
so.
the project as it currently is being proposed, pending the elevations,
Yeah.
appears to be in order.
I would
then?
say so, yes. I mean, to be honest with you, I think we would have my inclination would have been just to pass it if I could have seen the elevations. I can't imagine the elevations will be objectionable. These are, compared to what's on the site, it's not a big deal, but I can't conjure what that is, and the file has to be complete.
Okay.
You follow what
They'll
I'm
have the
saying, right?
engineering firm,
Yeah.
Nat Grid does things a lot differently.
Yes, I know. And these are engineering specs. That's the thing. That, they show you whatever.
Okay, we'll go back to their engineers and see if we can
Okay.
get the
All
elevations.
right.
and
I'm
bring
sorry
that
we
back.
couldn't, move this along more quickly, but it's just an administrative thing at this point, I
Okay.
think. Okay.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Jean. Okay, building signs. Are you here for the next one, Jean, for center cuts?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think this.
Yep, you're up next. You might as well stay right there. Center cuts, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-197-2-18. Esperanza's covering this for Diane, who's not with us. Oh, I should have said Diane. I hope you're having fun. We miss her. She's not here. Okay. Center cuts.
Okay. So, this business, which is located on Montauk Highway in Waynescott, Center Cuts, has a prior approval for a building sign at 18 square feet. And now the applicant is proposing a freestanding sign at 14 square feet, which would be two-sided, to be located on the western, close to the western property line as indicated on this depiction with the proposed design of the sign. I know I drive by this all the time. I'm sure you do.
Here we are.
I don't think this is possible even by code for signage.
In that strip, yeah, we talked about this a little bit.
Okay.
So, yeah, you saw where they're proposing it then in that strip of island,
Yeah.
that tiny strip where the
It's
handicap sign is as well.
yes.
So I was discussing that as to whether it is code that we could put it there or not. And perhaps if it were a directory sign, as opposed where the hardware store, Sherman Williams, for that building. If it were a directory sign, that might be different, but not an individual sign. Is that kind of what we're talking about?
That's what we're talking
That's
about.
where we're heading. Yeah. And you would also have to have the landlord's permission for that because that's, part of the whole
It's for the
complex.
Yeah.
Right, so the signage we're proposing, it's not really being considered. What I'm going to ask you is if I go back and talk to the landlord and the other tenants, if there were consensus that they wanted a directory sign in that same spot, is that something that we could be proposing and talk about?
With the landlord's consent and I guess a survey that demonstrates that the sign you're proposing is actually on that land. I don't know, David, what's your sense of this? don't remember what the directory dimensional.
I mean, as
requirements
Bronson
of a
knows too,
directory
if you
sign
drive
are.
by there, there's really not a lot of options for signage in that, on
Well-
that property.
My comment is like, is it really functionally a directory sign? Doesn't a directory sign direct you to a certain?
So directory sign would have to have the name of the complex, whatever that is with those three businesses. Then each of the three businesses is allowed a smaller sign underneath the complex name, which I don't recall the specific dimensions offhand,
It's 6
but
by 36.
yeah, it's tiny.
It's not very big.
As it is right now, that's not a directory sign, obviously.
And your other signs are so dominant. Why would you need
Why would
this
you
little
need it?
sign?
Yeah, it seems
looks
to
like-
me like this is a superfluous
Yeah.
sign.
Well, so far they have the pan sign. Well, it's nothing there yet, but what's been approved is the pan sign to mirror what's already up there.
Correct. Yeah.
And you have big signs in the windows now.
Right. The large signs in the window are very visible. And so once the sign on the building is up, I don't see really truly a need. There's nothing blocking the view from seeing those signs on the building. So I'm just questioning the need for more visual pollution with another sign.
Wayne Scott suffers from way too many signs.
I mean, I could functionally see the need if the business were set back, like from the street, and you can't see it from the street, like some of the ones in the square there further down the road. But here, it seems unnecessary.
Yeah, even the depiction, even this picture has a sort of,
Honky tonk feeling. to
well,
it.
it's just also very urban looking, and it's not what we're hoping for. We're trying to keep
Well,
it.
beyond whether, that is the case or not, the code, what we started with is the code's not even allowing it. Is that correct?
Yes,
Yes.
your sign as you're submitting it is, we can't approve that,
Right.
even if
So
we
that-
wanted to.
That's the first thing.
Yeah,
We don't
that's
have
the
to
first,
discuss
that's
whether
the first
it
thing.
looks good
Yes.
or not if it's not allowed.
Yes, and then if you want to pursue a directory sign for the complex with the landlord and the other tenants, and I think David made a point that is something you might want to consider, that the directory sign would have the name of the complex, like.
Or even the number on the highway or something like
Because
that.
you
the
have to
address.
identify it, and then these three signs would need to identify the, excuse me, the
Or once
establishments
they-
within that complex.
Once they put the pan sign up and take their window signs down, they could do something to hang some other signs in the window if they wanted to get to their 32 square feet, if they're not doing anything out on the street.
Yes.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
Okay.
Well, not being code is the first step.
Yes, it
so-
is. That's true. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for your understanding, Jean.
So
All right,
withdrawing that.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
guess.
well, you'll come back when you have something that
Figure it out.
yeah.
All right,
All
thanks.
right, great. Thanks. Happy holidays to you. All right. Next up is, oh my goodness. Fences, gates, walls, oh my Lord. Fences, walls, gates and berms. Andrew Walsh, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-39-6-4, which has been removed administratively. Next up is Michael Mara, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-058-04-13.1. Is Mr. Mara here?
Hello
Hi.
again.
How are you? Okay, Chip, this is yours.
Right, Will, can you pull up the pictures? This is very simple.
Okay, excellent. We like simple.
Okay, so this is an application to approve several panels of new stockade fencing in the front yard on the right-hand side of the yard along the neighbor's driveway. The applicant has replaced 6-foot stockade fencing with 4-foot stockade fencing per our request. Applicant has been before us in May and September of this year. And at those meetings, we asked that this fencing be changed. I think they've done exactly what we've asked them to do. The higher fence that you see in the back is behind the front facade of the house. I think this is ready to proceed to a C of O.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Chip? Mr. Mara, would you like to comment?
No, if this is the next step, then I think I'm ready.
Okay,
You want to do the C of O now too?
Yes.
yeah, let's do the C of O.
Okay.
Okay.
This man on his way. Okay, so I'm going to skip to the certificate of occupancy, which is number 10 on our agenda, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-058-04-13.1. Now, I guess we have to vote on these separately. Is that, all right, so why don't you make a motion?
I
for
make a
the,
motion that we approve the new
application.
fencing as installed on the application.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's passed and carried. And then for the issuance of certificate of occupancy, I read the number into the record. I don't have to do that again, right? May I have a motion to,
I make a motion that we approve the fencing per the application and instruct the building department to proceed with the certificate of occupancy.
may I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Voila. Happy holidays to you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, now next up is Dean Brodsky, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-188-1-11.3. Mr. Brodsky's here. Frank, this is yours.
Okay. Well, can you bring up the photos?
Say again.
Can you bring up the photos?
Sorry.
There you
I
go.
thought you
Go
were
back to
talking
the
me.
beginning. First photo, and then just go through it. Okay, this is an application that came before us previously for a masonry block retaining wall that reaches a height of 7 feet 2 inches above the cut grade, but is just above natural grade. At the time of the last meeting, this board seemed to view the massing of the wall favorably, but requested some changes per the follow-up letter. Specifically, number one, that the wall be capped. The applicant has gone ahead and capped the wall with a 1-inch thick bluestone with a slight overhang. What is built seems reasonable. Number two, the wall be covered with some sort of planting. The applicant has submitted a spec sheet for English ivy and has gone ahead and planted this at the base of the wall.
Do you want Will to scroll through these photos?
Yeah.
Can you scroll through the photos, please?
I am not an expert in ivy, so I'm not sure if the coverage is sufficient, nor do I know if or how the ivy is supposed to climb the wall in the absence of some sort of vertical structure. I welcome input from from board members on this matter. I also noted in the site, I don't know if this impacts our approval, but there is some sort of workmanship stuff on the wall that isn't great. It's not really visible from the street, but
yeah, that doesn't look so good.
Go back to the first photo, Will. Separately, the board noted to the applicant in the letter that the gates in the front of the house and near the rear of the house at a height of approximately 6 feet 8 inches exceed the maximum allowable height. The applicant has not applied for approval of these gates, but I feel it's the board's duty to inform the applicant that these gates exceed the maximum allowable height and have not changed. So.
Okay.
On ivy, I have ivy covering fences and it just climbs straight up and it attaches itself to whatever is there and it makes a wall.
It makes a wall. We like
pretty
that about
invasive.
ivy.
Yeah. Trimming it is going to be his biggest problem.
Yeah, it can get very invasive. So that's the only
Okay.
downside.
Landscaping.
All right.
Can I say something? We did lower those gates.
Okay, well, they exceed 6. I didn't measure them, but they seem to be about, and I was wearing boots with heels, and they seem to be about that much shorter. This is outside of but if you're looking for a certificate, if you're looking for a building inspector to come out and give you a CO, I highly suggest that you check the height of those gates. And we have no way of knowing if those gates are in your front yard or not, because as we've said before, anything that exceeds 4 feet and is in the front yard needs ARB approval.
And I understand. I took your suggestion from last time where you said they were 6'8", and we had the contractors come and lower them
To
6 feet.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
it's up to the building inspector.
right. We're just putting you on alert that you may get hung there. You know, you didn't make an application for the gates. We probably wouldn't have approved these because they have no, they're shingled, which is uncharacteristic for that area. And there's no transparency, which is something else we look for, but it's not before us. So we're just going to work on the wall and the ivy. Okay. And you should just be prepared for that when you get the inspection from the building department. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions for Mr. Brodsky? No. Or
I don't have any
Frank?
questions for the applicant, just to come. I mean, It seems to be planted. It's not covered in ivy. That's not going to happen for a long time.
Right.
But I guess can we approve
I
it?
don't know what is it, how do we generally do this, Eric? If it's planted, is that enough for us to approve it? I mean, I guess I don't know how we can wait until it's fully grown in.
So what was the board's consensus, that the entirety of the wall be covered? Or, I mean, what exactly was the directive for the applicant?
We wanted the wall to be covered with, or, have some,
Could do it
Screening.
conditionally.
excuse me?
We could do it conditionally, right? As
Yeah,
an extra.
I mean, can we punt this to the building inspector?
Well, it's not going to be grown for a year or two.
Right,
Right.
that's the point.
Just they could make a note on the card that the wall is supposed to be fully screened and covered in ivy. That's the best we
Yeah.
can do.
that's probably the best that you can do.
So when we make this motion this evening, we clarify that.
Yeah, I would say so.
So it's a conditional, it's an approval conditioned on the success of the ivy screening the wall.
Yeah, although the approval, well, what you could do is something similar to what the planning board does in their conditions where, I forget verbatim the standard wording, but it basically says all landscaping, approved by the board shall be performed in accordance with the plans and maintained in perpetuity, as a continuing condition of this
I
approval.
think the maintenance in perpetuity is the part that is
Right,
most significant.
right.
No, because the
Yeah,
next
that
person could
means-
come in and say, I hate English ivy and rip it out.
Yeah, I mean, we have Mr. Brodsky on for certificate of occupancy tonight too, so I don't know how we can do that. If we're conditioning it on,
Yeah, I mean, that would have normally been part of the original
Yeah.
resolution, so, which I haven't looked at. I have it in front of me here, actually, though.
I mean, we have
We
not
haven't made that
approved.
resolution
We haven't
yet.
done it. So
We're
it's
doing that
actually
first.
on this for both
Oh, okay.
approval of the wall and the planting with the planting and for a certificate of occupancy.
right,
So it seems we can at least approve the English ivy and state that it's
yeah, such as it is.
such
Yeah.
and to be maintained, we can state that it should be to be maintained
So,
in perpetuity.
yeah, exactly.
To be fully grown, to grow full height of the wall and maintain.
Yeah,
What's that?
so you could vote on the resolution with the changes noted.
Yeah.
All right, well, we won't do the resolution till next week anyway, or at the earliest, because we don't have a resolution for it tonight. We're just recommending this for certificate of occupancy.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's on the agenda for fences, walls, gates and berms. So we're approving the.
Yes, but if you look further in the agenda, we also have him down as number 11 for the CO. So
So
I
we
just,
can do this or not?
I'm
This year.
still not clear. Can we?
I think that's what
Yes.
is being said, is that we can.
We can do it as long as we condition it that the ivy has to grow as stated on the plans.
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
Yeah,
Okay,
I would agree.
all right, thank you. Okay, so do you want to make a motion then, Frank?
Okay, hopefully I got this right. So I make a motion to approve the application as submitted with the ivy grown to cover the wall and to be maintained in perpetuity.
That's great. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that is.
Thank you very much.
the condition, and then let's just read the certificate of occupancy into the record. The Suffolk County Tax Act number 300-118-1-11.3. So Frank, do you want to just make a motion to instruct staff to, that little saying we make? and
I make a
then
motion
add
to
your
approve this.
agenda.
Okay, I make an application. Do we need to make any exceptions for this? Okay, I make a motion to approve this application for a request for a certificate of occupancy and to instruct staff to notify the building department that this is ready for a certificate of occupancy.
Okay, may I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all right,
Thank you very
good
much.
to go. Good luck.
Happy holidays.
You too. Thank you. Okay. Next up is Ron Franklin, Suffolk County Tax Act number 300-200-3-40.1. Is Mr. Franklin or a representative here? Hi,
Good
how are
evening.
you?
Brian Glasser, architect representing.
I'll read it now.
You want it? Okay.
Yeah.
Gonna read it into the record? Oh, okay, great. Okay.
I don't think the applicant has knowledge of this either, so I think that's what,
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just didn't hear that sidebar. I wasn't aware of that.
I'm sorry, I thought you would have.
No, I didn't know. I was probably out getting my phone. Okay, so Esperanza, this is yours.
Yes. Okay. So, I don't know where to begin with this. It's been a while. Perhaps the best thing to do is, I'm going to go back to, this is for a proposed residence on Beach Lane. It's a 0.769 acre parcel with a proposed residence at approximately 5,000 square feet. In May, after you came before us, you received a letter from this board where we agreed that, and I'm going to read from that, the proposed residence's mass, scale, detail, and placement, and the proposed landscape design should be consistent with the established character of the neighborhood and assure harmony with the agricultural overlay district, which purpose is to reasonably control and to the extent possible prevent the unnecessary loss of those currently open lands. And then there were other suggestions such as addressing the proposed design, the massing as viewed from Beach Lane. The board indicated that one strategy for reducing the massing as viewed from Beach Lane could be to move and or reduce the scale of the garage. And then the height, scale, and massing of the double gables of the main structure facing Beach Lane being inconsistent at the time that we reviewed this with the scale of the similar properties, we suggested you revise that. So after September, you did come back with, and I think that's after we met together? Yes. We had, Frank and I had a meeting with Mr. Franklin and with Mr. Glasser. And then you came back and there were comments regarding the proposed light fixtures and the need to provide an updated survey. In your letter prior to that, you had reduced the building envelope by reducing both the house height and width, changed the roof direction of the garage to soften the appearance, moved the house and garage back from the front property line, and further set back the garage from the rest of the house. Reduced the amount of glass and metal on the front of the house, reduced the recess in all four gables from 12 inches to 6 inches, reduced roof pitches throughout, softened lines, modified fascia to create simple forms, added landscaping to reduce and soften appearance of the house from street and from views from the north, and eliminated one of the two pool house structures and moved the pool back toward the rear of the building envelope. And those were some of the main things. I think from the last letter, you only resubmitted the lighting specs again?
And we needed a survey.
And the survey.
Yeah. Showing the new location of the house and pool house and pool, which coordinated with our site plan from our last submission.
And that's what we're looking at here.
That's correct, yes.
And so as the survey indicates, the farthest distance from the front property line is 63 approximately feet.
Correct.
And the setback on the front from the front property line is actually 50 feet.
That's what the subdivision required, yes.
Correct, yes. And from the sides, it's 30 feet. And you actually reach that limit with this design. So that has not changed, the width of the house. Although
We did shrink it from when we originally had it maxed out. It was slightly smaller.
Well, how slightly? It's still reaching
Yeah, like it was
2 inches?
Yeah, a foot.
Okay.
Really, only by inches?
I mean, it doesn't seem
Oh
that
no,
way.
that was the original. Yeah.
Well, what did you reduce it? I'm just thinking now because it does reach that 30-foot setback. And so in the letter from August 22nd, you indicate that the house height and width were reduced.
Yeah. It was
So-
only an inch, a foot or two, something like that.
Foot
Before it
or
was
two.
maxed out. Now it's about a foot or two smaller than
Oh, I
what's
see.
allowed.
So it's not
I mean, it's not
significant.
appreciable from the survey because the left side is right at the setback and the right side is, I mean, maybe a foot, like you say. So this is what I'm getting at. You have been so cooperative, and I know you have come back with an improved design. For me, I think I've said repeatedly in these meetings that the mass and scale of this in proportion to the neighborhood was always exceeded what I think is appropriate for that property. So I wanted to read into the record. We received a letter today from a member of the community, and so I've been told by council that I should read it into the record, and so you can have knowledge of this as well. So this is a letter from Jane Maring. Dear members of the ARB, I'm writing to you today regarding 65 Beach Lane, an agenda item on your meeting today, December 8th, beginning at 4 p.m. I take it seriously and to heart that Chairperson Cunningham reads aloud key passages from the code underlining the purpose and responsibilities with which you are charged. I also know from watching so many of your meetings how hard is the task to balance all that with the increasingly more extensive plans and demands of applicants. I understand that the ARB, unlike the Planning Board and Zoning Board of Appeals, does not currently hold formal public hearings, yet the ARB page on the East Hampton Town website does say, contact us, and that we in the public are permitted to communicate thoughts and concerns to you via the general email address. So respectfully, here I am. The project is currently scoped and scaled, not only from my perspective, but I believe by objective standards, remains incompatible with the purpose of the town's agricultural overlay district, as stated clearly in 255-3-31 and also in 255-7-10. The renderings and the elevations submitted for the project attached to the agenda show the oversized scale and mass of the proposed structure. I know that between the applicant's first appearance before the board and the one on September 15, 2022, at this board's recommendation, the architect made some modest changes to some architectural elements as an attempt to, as they put it last time, make it look somewhat smoother. But overall, the renderings and elevations in the agenda file still show a somewhat overcomplicated, bulky design and a style that sadly is being overused uniformly all across this town. This design, in my opinion, bears no relation to the history and aesthetic of our established agricultural or farming lands heritage and its associated architectural vernacular, or with the established character of Beach Lane overall. This design proposed is most often used these days on the proliferation of spec houses and not what I would think respects the serious responsibility and true privilege of being able to develop a parcel of land in an area as unique, important, and widely cherished as Beach Lane. But more than design, the size/scale of the residence garage is the greatest concern to me. Moreover, the extent of the building coverage, what I imagine is a very extensive basement below grade space, and all the hardscape also concern me relative to the town's oft-stated priority to protect agricultural soils as well as issues of rising groundwater. This is yet another maxed out project in an ag overlay district that have come before the ARB again and again over these last several years. The proposed GFA of the house is 4,947 square feet and is just 3 feet from the 4,950 maximum that is allowable by current code on any property this size and without the special requirements of the ag overlay. And the proposed coverage ratios shown on the survey approach the maximums as well. The plan drawings provide perspective of how close the house is to maximum height allowances. If approved at this size or really anywhere near it, it will further impose upon and degrade the crucial view shed and neighborhood character significantly. I note from the aerial photo in the file that there appear to be 2 other undeveloped lots close by to the north around these farm fields. So what is approved at 65 Beach Lane sets up potential precedent about what might happen on those parcels when they come before this board. Applicant expectations that they can max out to code-based allowances as if this is simply a standard as-of-right building permit process does not strike me as compatible with the standards and purposes of the ag overlay. I rewatched the September 15, 2022 meeting where the ARB last discussed this application, and I know Chairman Cunningham was not present at that meeting to share her feedback and views. I also know the applicant has stated that this has been a long process and I imagine is anxious to move forward. But if I may, the length of the process thus far is solely of the applicant's making, as the first iteration of the application submitted was, I believe, not only deemed incomplete, but was devoid entirely of any comportment with or respect for the clearly stated objectives for an ag overlay, or for any of the other clear passages in our town zoning code that express its standards and purposes, particularly with respect to protecting the rural character of the town. And it is solely the applicant's making because, though they moved the house 9 feet further back from the road and made some roofline adjustments, the house's maxed out size remains mostly unchanged from their first outing. Also, from watching the last session, it appeared that the applicant was left with the impression that they were basically in a good place and that their next appearance before you, the one coming up today, would focus on some final review of a few lighting fixtures and the final required survey submission. Several board members at the time did indeed offer some supportive comments of the project, though Vice Chairperson Leon remarked clearly that the scale still feels too large. I understand that practically it is difficult to ask for further material changes or a rescaling of the project, but still the application is not approved and the process, I imagine, technically would be allowed to continue. I know the planning, zoning, and architectural review boards generally take applications one at a time and mostly as discrete entities, but there is a cumulative impact that I believe should be taken into account in the review process. Looking at the totality of all the ag overlay applications that have come before this board over the entirety of 2022 and the couple of years before that as well, several of which are still pending, and now seeing as built the terrible impact aggressive and overscaled development is having on our neighborhoods, hamlets, our land, view sheds, and quality of life, discomfort about applications like these is growing in the community. I have heard all 3 boards on occasion in public meetings indicate discomfort around development trends over the last 12 months. I would venture, observing the changing context, that ARB members' perspective on what is acceptable might also be evolving in real time as well, and perhaps might inform what the board should, as the code states in 255-7-20-D, approve or disapprove. Thank you all, members, as well as the team of people who work alongside you, for your tremendous commitment and service to this town, and for any consideration of my comments you are able to give.
Well, thank you for reading that, Esperanza. That was a mouthful.
That was. Thank you for bearing with me on reading that out loud.
That was sent to us right before our meeting. Thankfully, member Ray printed it out, so we had an actual physical copy to review. Thank you for that. And okay, so are you done with your critique, or do you have something further you'd like to say?
I had 2 other questions in addition to, still holding to that opinion that this still is not compatible with the neighborhood. As just a technicality, for this sizable development, I didn't see on your survey any indication of a generator. Do you propose one?
Don't remember if it's on, I'd have to check.
And also, were there going to be any solar panels? Because those two items would also come before our review. So
If there were solar panels, that's something that would be putting on the flat roof, which would be there.
Sorry?
Could you
It'd be
speak
on the
into the
flat
mic,
roof.
please? Sorry, we're having a
Be
little
on the
trouble
flat
hearing you.
roof at above the 14-foot height, so it wouldn't be visible from any, if that's an issue, you wouldn't see it.
I think we need to approve solar panels if they're involved.
I'm just saying it's something that's there's a 14-foot ceiling that from the first floor. So it's something that wouldn't be visible from any elevation on the house where they're located. They're not on a slope roof, basically.
Right, I understand. I think that the point that our vice chair is making is that we need to know if they're going on. It's something that comes before this board for approval. So that if they're none
Even if you can't see
proposed,
it, all right, it's not a problem. We can, usually the solar panel company would do that analysis. And it
Well,
would,
yeah,
you wouldn't
I
see it
mean,
on the renderings.
right, but
plans.
sometimes, yes, the solar company would provide an analysis and propose where they would go. But if you're proposing them, that is a component of this application. I think that we need to see is the point.
But is it in the application that they're solar panels?
No.
No, but
My,
as
So-
Franz is asking-
my point being that often what happens is that an applicant gets approval and then
Right.
they have to return.
And put solar, right? And
If they're
show
going
it.
to add any kind of structure, they require a modification.
Right,
That's all.
okay.
And
but
I'm
but-
jumping
yeah,
ahead.
Yeah.
Right.
I was
Let's
thinking,
Just,
Yeah.
I wouldn't
let's
be
just see-
concerned with your views on the solar because you wouldn't see it. So if we had to come and submit it, I'd have to show an aerial view.
Yeah.
And I'm not concerned about it. I'm more concerned about the massing, to be honest
Yeah,
with you.
no,
I
and
am
that I
as
think is
well.
really, we should really
Yeah.
keep our comments as to what's before us now instead of, I mean, it's
The
glad you're
generator is
bringing
also a
up
good
the,
question, though.
excuse me?
The generator is also
Well,
a good
Yeah, no,
question.
the
that goes
generator
to the
and the
mass.
solar panels are questions. There's no,
those both
yeah.
things are all involved in that whole mass and scale because
Right.
for a sizable development like this,
right.
I presume that's going to be something that's going to be involved in this project. So it's not in your submission.
Right, okay. But let's talk about the mass and scale that we are looking at now.
Yes.
And let's get feedback from the rest of the board.
Can we pull up the building elevations again? I don't have my laptop with me to where we are now with elevations and just the renderings are fine, actually. Renderings.
Can I ask also, originally, not to dig into the paperwork here, the now proposed pool house is 200 square feet with a 400 some odd
Pergola, yeah.
pergola. So it's roughly 640. Before, it was two 100 square foot structures with a pergola in between.
Correct.
So essentially, it's the same thing.
No, I don't know the exact, I'd have to look at the calculations, but the massing is completely, there's only columns now. There's not walls or any type of solid volume, if that's what you're asking. It's
Well,
200
there's a-
square feet
there's
of
a-
wall space.
There's an
right?
enclosed 200 square foot space, yes?
That's the pool house, yes, pushed all the way to the rear.
Well, we requested that the house be moved back further from the street.
Yeah.
Right.
And when there were two accessory structures, or I don't know if there were, I don't know, can you have two pool houses? Maybe it was one accessory structure, one pool house. The comment was made, well, we can't accommodate those. And so as I recall, one of those accessory structures was taken out to allow for the house to be pushed back further from the street. And what that means in terms of the square footages for the pool house and the accessories or the pergola, I don't know. But it does seem to me it's, without looking at the previous rendering, that it's less massing.
I mean, the pool house, the current shape and scale of it just imagine another one of those in front. So that's how much it wouldn't even fit technically in between. So quite a bit was taken out. If you look at not obviously this isn't showing, if you look at the site plan or survey, you can see that the pool house, just imagine this massing here. It wouldn't even, there was space there between this structure and another pool house. So this pushed back roughly. Basically, there's a pool house right here that we eliminated. The other, I don't know.
Oh, so originally they were two 200 square foot structures?
Yeah,
I
that
see.
was a
Okay,
base.
that was my mistake. I thought it
Yeah,
was,
yeah.
okay.
No, we had another structure. If you look at the rear rendering, just imagine two
Yeah.
solid.
No, I remember now, yeah.
Yeah. So to make that actually happen, we did push it back we pushed it back like 9 feet, which was a recommendation from
Right.
Frank. If you want me to just touch briefly on the side yard setbacks because of the subdivision, I believe your code states a 15-foot setback. It's a little deceiving because you see the code showing 30
The
feet.
survey up, please, Will, so we can match the comments to, thank you.
So I believe the subdivision required 30-foot setbacks, which in the town, it's typically would be 15 feet on a property like this. So it seems a little like we're building out to the max, which we are to the subdivision requirements. But I would think that when a subdivision was made up around the ag overlay district, they were bringing it in tighter. So that's why these setbacks are doubled from what your town normally requires.
Well, when the subdivision is made, concessions are given to the land rather than the potential homeowners. And that's what I think, that's why there are increased setbacks in the ag overlay, because we don't want ag overlay properties to be built up. So I hear I take your point, but it sounds like you're trying to say, well, if it wasn't for this ag overlay in the subdivision, we'd be able to build out 15 feet even more.
I'm just
Well, that's
saying-
what I'm hearing from you.
No, what I'm getting at is when a neighbor looks at this and sees that we're building out, it looks like it's very tight because of those double setbacks that we're going to. Like
Right, but those are the setbacks, whether they're doubled or tripled or quadrupled, those are the
but I'm
setbacks
saying-
on that property. And you have filled the space in between the setbacks with structures.
Right.
So you have built it out.
Well, the
Right.
pyramid would have kept you from going to that anyway.
What was that?
The pyramid law would have kept you from going to 15 feet anyway,
And that's
based on the proposed design anyway. So you wouldn't have
Yeah.
been able to go to 15 feet. I don't know
Yeah,
if that's what
I'd move on from this point. I
So,
don't think it's helping you.
I'll make one comment, which is about the mass and scale, which the letter, my concern had been when I first saw this is the distance to the street. Now, I don't know if we still have a rendering of this. My concern had been the house was too close to the street. The house has since been pushed back. Do we have any idea of how far it is from the street to the property line?
It's about, I think 62.9 to the left side of the front elevation.
That's the property line, but the street.
Oh, to
How
the
far from the
street?
street to the property line looks to be about
15 feet, I think.
10 feet, 10 feet, 8 feet.
I would say 15. See the 30-foot number? If we scale it, it's probably 15. I
That's
think.
not
It's not
15 feet.
15. It's about 10 feet. So it's about 72 feet, looks to be from the street. I just wonder, there was like an aerial rendering. I don't know if it was ever updated, showing the relationship of the house to the other buildings.
Mhm.
Do you know what we're talking about, Will?
Kind of.
The client's calling me. He's watching it. I don't know.
I mean, where I am on this, I don't know if you were going to but where I am on this is I feel that the applicant has made a lot of changes to break up the scale of this, to visually bring down the scale of it somewhat. That the applicant has moved the house further back from the street. I mean, I understand concerns about the massing and scale of what's happening in Wainscott. And what happens, I feel, in applications is that an applicant may come before the ARB or some hearing where it seems like reasonable in its, and I'm being subjective of this, my view, but it seems reasonable in its own application, but seen in light of every other development seems a progress
This
we don't like. Yeah. So that was my concern. I don't remember how close we were to the street when this was done.
Was pushed back like roughly 9 feet.
9 or 10 feet, yeah, something like that.
So,
Do you think
And
that
I think
holds
we also reduced the roof pitches from a 12 on 12 to a 10. So
Yeah.
when they say maxed out the heights, like we are lower by 2 or 3 feet from the max building height, which I know it's only a few feet, but in the world of heights for 32 feet height, 2 feet or 3 feet, it's quite a bit. And Frank also mentioning the connecting piece between the garage to make it feel separated from the main house. That was our goal to not, and we pushed the garage back further as well. So those elements were to break down the overall mass so it didn't appear to be as long.
right.
And there's two structures to get separated from each other. So that was the intent with the design. And unfortunately, that the fact that we just got this letter a couple of days ago, when I submitted these drawings, I was thinking the survey, I was trying to take care of what was required of me.
What letter?
The letter that we read.
the letter that it was just
So
read?
the last hearing.
Yes, I see. I see. Yes, yes. No, none
I
of
feel like
us-
I'm unprepared for all this stuff.
We are
because-
too.
So
We are too. Yeah.
I mean, to an extent. I mean,
Yes.
We shouldn't accept letters an hour before our meeting. It's not right.
Well,
it wasn't. I don't think it
that's.
was an hour.
It was the same day.
It's roughly
but
an hour. I
That's why we
think,
read it into the record.
yeah, I think David's advice on that is as long as it's before 4 o'clock, it's legitimate. I mean, I
But-
similarly feel it doesn't give us enough time
I had no
to
time to read it.
read it and digest it. So it makes.
Or the applicant.
Yeah, nobody has enough time, and especially a letter of that length and complexity, which is not to say it was a good letter, it was a well-written letter, but I would have preferred to have had time to think it through.
And my client, I mean,
Sure.
this has been going on for over a year. So we
No, we
if this is the
understand.
first time they're hearing about it, it's a little,
Yeah, no, that's okay. It's,
throw my client for a loop. I'm sure he's, I don't know what he's thinking.
Well, I don't know how much of a loop. I will say, as I repeatedly said every meeting, it's not new news that the mass and scale was considered repeatedly by this board, at least, and especially by me, each time. And so it shouldn't be a loop.
well, whether it's a loop or it's not a loop, I think the mass and scale is still an issue. That would be my basic sense of it. I mean, I know that you've made concessions. I have empathy for the frustration that you must feel because I know you have been a good faith actor and your client has been working with us. If you could just go back to the front elevation for me, Will. And some of the mitigations that you've included have been helpful, that they have helped this. But I think for me, I'm finding the basic design of this is there's still too much mass for my understanding of what the ag overlay should look like. I wish it was shrunk down a good deal more. And this is not to insult you or, say, well, it doesn't matter what you've done to this point. It does matter. And we appreciate that back and forth. Maybe you could just tell your client to hold off a little bit so you don't have to text him while you're talking to us.
Can you maybe poll the board, just see
Yeah.
where people are on
Well,
this
sure.
in terms of.
And there is a situation tonight where we're missing one board member.
Yeah, well, but we have a quorum. We can act on it.
Right.
As long as we have a quorum, we can act on it. We can vote on it tonight, or we can ask them to come back with something else. I mean, I can poll the board. What's your situation, Frank?
Bottom line is I'm comfortable with what's presented here. I think we have worked with the architect and the owner through the process. I think they've acted in good faith, and that's where I stand.
Okay, great. Thanks. Chip?
I concur with Frank. I thought at the last meeting, we were further down towards being positive on this. And then when I heard the letter that was written, it didn't necessarily jive with the way I thought we left the last meeting. But, you know, I think the problem here is this is a field and it's open and we all see it. If you look at the houses on the other side of Beach Lane, some of them are tremendous by comparison. And yet we're focusing on this house because it sits out in the middle of an open field.
I want to just say, when you say tremendous on the opposite side, this is a 0.769 acre lot. It's a very different, you can't compare a larger house on a 2 acre lot
But when
across
you
the
drive
street.
down the street, you don't know what's behind the houses. The land on the other side of the street the land is behind these houses. But when you drive down Beach Lane, I lived on Beach Lane, Esperanza.
Yes, I know you did.
It's a very consistent, and this house fits in with the other houses that have been built in the last 10 years.
Well, we disagree on that.
Okay, well, there,
Let me finish, please. I mean, really.
what,
So I concur with Frank, and I actually, well,
I have concerns about also the credibility of this board if we're going to go through this process of meeting with an architect and ask for revisions and they do them and then sort of, I feel like we're leaving them at the altar a bit.
well, I understand that perspective, but I would like to put it in a different perspective. The fact that we have a willing and cooperative applicant who comes in repeatedly to work with us on things and keeps offering us changes, but they're incremental changes, doesn't necessarily change the overall, massing and scaling. It's better, but I'm not sure that we are serving our purpose. I really have to caution you about saying the credibility of this board. We can't challenge the credibility of this board. I think we have credibility. I think the idea that, there are negotiations outside of this room that we have asked members to engage in is not an indication that an application is going to receive approval. That doesn't mean it's going to be approved, because it's a courtesy. It's not required. There's no place anywhere that says that we have to do this. It's something this board has decided. You and your generous, use of your time, and Esperanza's had quite a few of these. We're not getting paid extra money to do this extra stuff. We're hardly getting paid at all. I think that is a courtesy to the applicant, and it's meant to make this process shorter. I know you're complaining it's a year. It could be 2 years. It could be 4 years. It's just how it goes here. This board has the responsibility of reviewing aesthetics, and aesthetics are very hard to characterize and put into and to codify on some level.
And character.
And character. But the point I'm trying to make is we can vote down this application and it does not challenge the credibility of this board.
By the credibility, I mean, sort of the last time this came before any of the board members was at the ARB meeting, not the meeting, I believe, one-on-one with the architect,
Right.
sort of
Right. Well, I wasn't at that meeting. Talk about
the last time anyone on the ARB.
Here, you were down then.
The tone of the meeting is different.
The last time anyone on this committee discussed this with anyone else was at an ARB
At a
meeting.
full board meeting,
At a
right.
full board meeting. And the issue I take is that if there were significant concerns about the Massingham scale, that I think that should have been voiced a lot more loudly
Okay.
to the
Well,
applicant.
that's fair enough. I wasn't here for that
previously
meeting, so I can't.
that,
Yeah.
like at the last meeting, then to request these refinements and then, yeah, that's the point I'm making. Is
Okay.
that if we
I think
are
that's
going
a
to
fair
make
point.
massing comments, we have to be very forceful to an applicant in
Apparently.
making that clear that certain things aren't, that it's no matter how much refinement happens, that it's not acceptable to certain members of the committee need to be more assertive in saying that the massing and scale is not going to work, no matter how much refinement there is.
I understand. I think that's a fair point. I think it's a fair point. And I think I don't think I would be speaking out of turn to say that that's been Esperanza's position from the beginning. But and the fact that I wasn't here for the last review may have changed the tenor of the discussion. I have problems with the massing and scale too, but I wasn't here to voice them. I don't want to go too far down the garden path here, but what do you?
I have 2 points. The first one that Eric just reminded me is that because Diane is not here tonight, if there's a tie, her vote is a de facto denial. So I think that the applicant should be afforded the opportunity to have a vote from the full board, because if it's 50-50 split and it's a tie, it's then assumed it's would be a denial. I'm not saying how they.
No, I understand that.
Well,
I knew that.
Yes, no, that's my first point. And my other point is that the board should rein in their commentary of each other at this point. I hear what you're saying, Frank, and it just
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's all clear.
I think you should come back at the next meeting when the full board isn't present. Because you haven't had a full board meeting in the last meeting either, because you weren't here, Kathy, right?
Correct.
So-
The last of the
I
list.
think your application is not getting the full consideration of the full board because the full board has not been at that meeting or this meeting.
Understood.
Yeah, an unfortunate circumstance.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if there were more agreement on your application, you could go forward and not have any regrets, but I think that's not the situation here tonight. So I don't know if anybody wants to give the applicant any further feedback on this. I sympathize with Esperanza's position. I do thank you for the concessions that you've made. I don't want to ignore those. I know that you are representing someone else. It's not, this isn't all your idea. And I think the massing on the pool house, replacing the I'm losing the word. Anyway, I think that's an improvement. I know that pushing it back off the street 9 feet. I think part of the problem that I'm having is that it's a 3/4 of an acre parcel, and it's just very built up. It's just very built up, and there's something about the gables front facing here to me that feel a little. They just feel like they're looming to me. I just. I don't know. I think if there were more roof line facing the street, I would have an easier time with it, but that would require a complete redesign of this building. So I think the best thing you might be able to do is just come back. Yeah, we'll try to get you on, as soon as we can next time. I don't think it'll be next meeting. It'll probably be in January. I don't think we have room for it on the 15th. Okay. Did you have anything
I
else?
just have to voice one.
Yeah.
So my client
Sure.
he keeps calling me, texting me,
Yes.
and trying not to be rude.
Yes, that's fine.
And he keeps saying, "Can I speak?" I don't know how that would
He
even
can't
work.
speak on the phone. No, he wanted to
He
speak.
can-
He should be here.
He can hear you saying it. Just so you know, he had a kid yesterday.
Oh,
second-
congratulations. How
Maybe the baby
exciting.
had been born.
That's why he couldn't be here.
Oh,
I didn't
that's so
want
exciting.
a lot of intensity going on with stuff, so I
Mhm.
didn't want to say anything. But that was part of why he couldn't be here.
Yeah, okay, well,
Obviously, he
that's-
wants to be here.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
this
No, I
house,
understand. Well,
but,
he can be here when we do it next time.
so he can't speak.
Yeah.
Just he
No,
can hear you. Okay.
No, I don't think it's going to further the cause at this point. I think if you were to ask us to vote on it now, it would be a denial. So I would
Because we have
advise you,
two, right?
yes, because I'm not prepared to vote for it. So,
Yeah, you weren't here last time.
Right.
So I understand that. I will bring to your attention, we did originally have a design that had the roof line, breaking it down so you only had one reverse.
right.
And that was something that we took off the table. And I think, Frank, that was
Right.
part of one of our
That's
conversations.
fine. That's fine. Yes.
So what I'm getting at is for us to redesign.
I understand. I don't expect you to do it. I'm just
Oh, you don't
telling
think
you
we
my
should do it?
opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that this is one of those applications that we're not going to have agreement on with the board, and that you'll have a straight up vote. And
Right.
I'm not going to predict what that'll be, but
Yeah, right.
you
I
know,
get you. I
yeah.
understand.
so
Okay.
okay.
All right. Thank you for your
Happy
time.
holidays and congratulations. Who did they have? A girl or a boy?
Oh boy. Yes.
How exciting! Wonderful,
Congratulations.
wonderful, wonderful.
All right.
All right, thanks a lot. Have a good holiday. Okay, we're on to Tony and Claire Florence, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-189-03-7.2. That's mine. This is Phil Kaufman Builder. Are you Mr. Kaufman?
I'm not. I'm Tyler.
You're who?
Tyler.
Tyler who?
Tyler Hurlbut. I'm a project manager for Phil Kaufman Builder.
Tyler Hurl. Would you spell your last name, please?
Hurlbutt.
Thank you. Hurlbutt. Great. Okay. Thanks. Okay, so this one is mine. I took a bunch of useless pictures because I misunderstood this application. Because this is for an additional pool house. The applicant, this was one of my very first applications. Frank, you and I went out on
Yeah,
the
I'm
property with Diane.
confused.
Yeah,
This looks like, I thought we reviewed this.
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that's why I was confused. So, but there were a pool house and a pavilion were approved for this property at 257 Further Lane in January, and they are applying for an additional 200 square foot pool house. So that was where I got a little confused. And when I went out to the property, I took pictures of what is under construction, because I don't think they built the pavilion, but they didn't build what was approved, right?
We haven't started. We've cleared and moved landscaping, but haven't started any actual construction.
Right. Well, there's some holes in the ground. I mean, I do have those pictures.
Yep.
Yes. So is that for the pool house that was approved?
That was actually to relocate a hot tub line. There was two lines that went basically where the foundation of the approved pool house is.
Right.
We had to reroute that past it so that the foundation could go in.
I see. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. So one of the trouble, I went out again today because I took pictures of what was there, thinking that was it, but it wasn't. And I took other pictures, but sadly, our brilliant Wi-Fi here I wasn't able to get him to him. I sent him late in the day of the property. So could you just show us on the survey where the new pool house is supposed to go?
Right here.
Okay, and where is the one that we approved? That's the approved, and that's the pavilion.
And that's, I believe it's 15 feet between them.
Yes.
It's the exact same thing, just mirrored
Okay.
opposite of it.
All right.
So I just have one question. It's the
Mhm.
exact same thing, but it's slightly larger, because what was approved was 175 square feet. So this
Yeah.
one's at 200.
Yeah, I think the discrepancy is in our office, our Bluebeam stuff to measure the square footage. The original one of 175, I believe, took on the inside of the 2x6 walls of the floor space.
So our resolution is inaccurate.
And I did it on the outside. I believe I tried to do the math today and it seemed very close to right, but I did not fill out the original approved application previously.
Well,
That's a big difference.
But it is actually the
if it's 25
Exact
square
same.
feet, I mean,
That's
what
a,
would that
that's
be?
a
That'd be like,
large, those are thick walls.
that'd be 5 feet on each, wouldn't it? No, 2.5 feet,
2.5.
2.5 feet on each wall.
50 linear feet in a 6-inch thick wall.
right.
So does that make
So we
sense
have-
to you, Frank?
Yes.
Okay. Well, so then I guess the
It's 12
question
and a half
is
feet.
our resolution accurate or does that need revision? Is it a 200 square foot building or is it 175
If we're
square foot
going
building?
outside,
Well, what is the standard? It's not an either or. What are the standards that we're meant to be measuring? The outside, correct? Not the
The
inside.
It's the
exterior, face of the
footprint, isn't
The
exterior.
exterior, yes,
The
I'm
face of
just
the
saying this for
exterior.
the
Oh,
record.
that's it,
Yes,
yeah.
no, it is. So, what is the measurement of the building on the exterior?
200 square feet.
Okay, that's all we need to know. But then, so we have a 175 square foot building. We're gonna have to
We have to revise
yeah, revise that
because
because
it won't.
you don't have approval for a 200 square foot building. You have approval for a 175 square foot building
Okay.
on this.
Which has been built?
Not
No,
yet.
not
That's
yet.
what was approved.
Yeah, nothing's been built yet. We approved a pool pavilion and a pool house. The pool house was 175 square feet. The pavilion was 400 square feet. But so this is going to have to be amended. And then they want, because as Esperanza is pointing out, they were going to mirror the building, but the 200 square feet was a weird
So do they-
discrepancy. So
They need a new application?
I don't know. What do we do,
No,
Will?
the resolution is not correct
David.
then.
Well, there were a couple of problems. So what do you recommend, David?
Got it. Well, we would have to modify the original resolution.
Okay. So that has to be done. Do we do that? Can we do that now? Or is that something we have to, does he have to make application? Does it have
Do
to
we
be a
know for sure that
modification?
that's the correct measurement? Do we
We
need
don't.
to confirm that? So,
No.
I think we
right?
have
Like, would we want to get it right?
I think it
What
becomes a
measurement is correct?
modification, right?
Well, I will say the maximum pool size is 200
No, no,
square
no.
feet.
For the original structure that was built, it's now 175 versus
Right, but
200.
it hasn't been built yet. None of these things have been built
Well, that's
yet.
even better because then you
Well,
just
we can-
modify the,
Right.
So
they come
Right.
before us with a
Just whatever-
modification.
the board decides to do, we should try to get it accurate.
Okay. All right. So what I think you need to do is submit for a modification of the resolution of January 13th, 2022. Because going on the measurements that you had given us, we approved a pool house totaling 175 square feet. The problem here is that if you were to build it to 200 square feet, you're not going to get a certificate of occupancy for the building department. It's got to, these things have to jive. We're not trying to be weird about this, but it's got to be correct. So, so you need to make a modification for that. And then, regarding the second pool house, is there any limit on the number of accessory structures that can go on these lots or the square footage of accessory structures that can go on these lots?
There's no limit on the number, right?
100 per, but there's
Just
no
has to
limit.
meet the full the total
Lot
GFA.
coverage, total lot.
I'm sorry?
It just has to meet the coverage requirements.
Yeah, okay. All right. So
I think
then,
it's 600 per.
Coverage.
yeah, I think you're right. And this is 200, so that's fine.
Pool house is
Pool house is 200
Yes.
because of plumbing. Yeah.
Right.
So I think that instead of making him submit a new modification application, you could approve the modification rate right now and then have him pay the fee afterwards if the board is comfortable doing it that way. If it's just the difference between 175 and 200.
I'm comfortable doing that. I just want to make sure that we have the proper leverage to get that, I mean, I don't even care so much about the fee. I just want the paperwork to be to properly reflect what has occurred. So if the fee is part of that, then we have to do that. I'm perfectly willing to make a motion to modify the resolution. So shall I just do that now?
And then go.
And then go into the second thing?
Yeah.
Does that sound like a cool? Yeah. Okay, so I'd like to propose that we modify Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-189-03-7.2 where of a resolution of January 13th, 2022 for the pool house at this property, which was incorrectly stated as 175 square feet. That modification needs to be changed to 200 square feet, which is the actual size of the building. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we've established that modification. And now I mean, I don't, I wish they weren't building out every single thing within this hedged area, but if it's within the code, then that's fine, I guess. It's
Well,
only
it still has to
200
go
square
through
feet.
the ag overlay review. I mean, it is 200 square feet.
right.
This is a pool house, but it doesn't have plumbing.
No. It has some,
There's a toilet and sink, I believe. And then
So both of them
outdoor
do?
shower. Correct.
yes, I think that's the nature of the pool houses have showers.
Hot water.
Okay.
Yeah, and hot water. And the reason
And-
they're kept to 200 square feet is so it doesn't risk
not-
becoming
Guess
a residence. Yeah. So,
Live in a 200 square foot house.
hey, I heard an argument the other day that
Tiny house
400
limit.
square foot apartments with 2 bedrooms. And I was
Exactly.
listening to that.
I'll
whole-
happily live at this house.
Not at
I'll
this
happily
one.
live in this pool house.
Not here. Anyway, I'm willing to make a motion to approve this submission as proposed, but for a 200 square foot pool house. Please make sure it's that, okay?
Mhm.
And that your dimensions are compatible because, there is the code tells you how to measure these things, so it's got to be consistent. So I'm willing to move that we accept that submission as proposed. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Mooney? No?
Aye.
Okay. What? I'm not twisting your arm.
No, I just.
I'm with you. I hear you. Yeah, I hear you. Okay, so I am missing things from here. Excellent. We did Michael Myers. So we just have one more.
Could I clarify something real quick?
Yeah, sure.
For the original one, does that halt my construction? Like that's approved with the building department after the previous approval. And I don't know off the top of my head if
Have a building permit? Is that what you mean?
I have the building permit.
And is
Okay.
it
I
at
was-
200 square feet?
That's what I'm not sure off the top of my head is if the
I guess
permit
that's the
reads
main thing.
200.
You might should check with
Go
them.
tomorrow and
Yeah, go
Okay.
tomorrow and tell them what happened.
Okay.
And
maybe
we
should our
could-
office then we could maybe shoot an email to Ann. So
I was going to say, maybe we should send an email to her. I could send an email to her.
It shouldn't halt construction. I mean, you're making
No,
an
but it needs to
application
be
to modify
clarified.
something and you haven't applied for a C of O. So you have a permit to build something. But,
No, I think you can proceed, but you should let them know.
Yeah.
Because when they come back to look at it, they're going to compare their notes and see
Yeah.
175 versus
Versus
200 too. Okay, but that's a
Understood.
good question.
Thank you.
All right.
also, your dimensions are not going to change. It's not like
Right.
you're legally making it bigger, but dimensionally, you're not changing anything.
Yeah. And I don't have the other page. I have a full set, not here. That's the pavilion pool house original one. And then the second one, all the dimensions are exactly the same.
Right.
But I will just double check with the town
Yeah, just,
on my building permit that it is
Right.
a 200 square foot.
right. That's,
Okay.
that's the way to do it. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
And good luck to you
Have a good
and
one.
happy holidays. Okay, so now we have a OMH LLC gate, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300, sorry,
Okay.
Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-087-02-16.1. Frank, this is yours.
This is a request for a certificate of, or approval for a certificate of occupancy for a gate at 251 Montauk Highway. We approve the gate with the following conditions. The gate is to be a maximum of 5 feet with opacity of 50%. There will be 3.5-inch spacing between boards. The gate appears to conform to the opacity, but the height above the driveway on the street side was measured at 5 feet 5.5.
Oh, for goodness
The gate pillars are 5 feet from the top of the pillar to the bottom of the wood, but this this wood
Yeah.
sits above grade.
Right.
Mhm.
The drawings submitted to the ARB, which was approved, indicated that the pillars would be 5 feet above grade and less than that above the driveway. Also, there are 9 horizontal boards built, whereas the approved drawing shows 8 boards.
Oh, boy.
So
Okay.
also note to the applicant that there is deer fencing installed closer to the road than the fence, that goes up to 7 feet in some places. These fences were not there in May when this application was being considered. This is not approved fencing, and while this is not part of this application, it is a code enforcement issue.
Okay.
So,
What do you
yeah,
think?
can pass this around.
Do we have more pictures, or is this the only one? Well, it's not built as approved, right?
Right.
So we can't recommend it for C of O.
I mean,
So-
do we give lenience to 5'5.5"?
I think that's too much.
5.5 over? No, it's 2.
Yeah.
I think that's too
An inch or
much.
2.
Stating
And
for
you
the
can,
record.
and there's a pretty big space between the bottom slat and the grade, I mean, they could have put it down nearer to the bottom of the pillar. And I mean, that looks like almost 5 inches to me. Maybe not, but even if it was 3.5 or 4.
It's 8.25. Well, this is weird the way they did this.
Yeah.
It's not correct.
I don't know how they built 9 courses and not.
Yeah, well, they weren't paying attention to the resolution. It's likely is the
That's the
reason.
extra 6 inches.
I would think, yeah. Okay, well, so we can't recommend that. That's not ready. So I don't know what we do here. We'll just send them a follow-up letter to,
All right.
Is
yeah.
it denied
Is
or?
it denied or tabled?
I mean,
Well,
we could table it and note and see if they're willing to come in and change it and give them that opportunity, or deny it and have them come back and reapply.
Is it denied for
yes.
C of O?
Courtesy is the tabling.
I don't mind just tabling it and giving them a chance to correct it, but if denying it is a stronger message, I'm happy to do that.
Well,
I
they know
mean,
that they're not approved.
yeah, well, I think either way, they don't get what they need, so.
The approval is only valid for 3 years anyway, so eventually it will expire. And
Well, yeah,
Yeah, they'd
but
have to
that's
come
not,
back, so.
I'm sure that's not their goal,
No,
is
of
to
course
wait
not.
3 years to get this done. So, let's table it. I think we'll table it and have them come back in. It is irritating though, because I covered this one time also. It's been before us a number of times. Okay, here's some resolutions for your signature, dear. All right, so we're reading, we signed resolutions for Amagansett Dunes, Unit 223, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-190-2-16. Berner Law Group, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-163-7-23.1. And, could you pull up the Bistrian,
Yeah, I got it right.
thing for me? Thank you. Bistrian Farmland Deer Fence. Before I read all these numbers, I just want to mention to the board that when I showed the pictures of this at the last meeting, Alex Balsam called me the next day to say that he wanted me to be sure, and I don't think I really clarified that the fence that they're putting in is not a rectangular fence. It's going to be fencing in the entire area of the photographs that I showed. It's an oddly shaped fence, which you can see here. Okay, so I just wanted to addend that in case, you went over and looked and said, wait a minute, this doesn't look like what we thought we were doing. And that was my
Is
lack
that
of.
clear enough with the resolution then?
I think it is
Yeah.
because it's the
Just the
it's the
linear.
fencing. Yeah, the tax map numbers. It's a bunch of separate tax map numbers. So anyway, Bistrian Farmland Deer Fence, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-171-2-1.2. Additionally, 300-171-2-11.2, 300-172-1-1, 300-172-1-2.1, and 300-172-1-4. Okay. So I think that brings us to the end of this meeting. We have one more meeting next week. Thank you to everybody. Julie, get well soon. Diane, we missed you. And thank you to the staff and to this hardworking board. May I have a motion to close?
So motion.
And may I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, good night. And we do. Not bad.